Welcome to the Drama Queen Perspective, a podcast designed to empower, inspire, educate, and entertain. Drama Queen is a philanthropist, educator, business owner, poet, and performer. So you will be entertained. Find out what's trending. Get a thumbs up or thumbs down on the hottest restaurants, places, and things. And find out ways to help your business grow. And much, much more. Without further ado, here is your host, Drama Queen.
So thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Key Chat. Today, my guest is Miss Shanese Shields. Shanese is a philanthropist, an educator. She's an advocate for celiac disease awareness, and she also appeared on the A&E Network's 60 Days In. So I have so much I want to talk to her about, and I'm really excited. So how are you doing today?
I am awesome and amazing. Thanks for having me today.
Awesome. So I don't even know where to start. I did. And I watched the show, and the whole time I'm watching, I was like, oh my God, why is she there? Leave. I'll start off with that first. For people that haven't watched 60 Days In, they have like several people that voluntarily go to jail for 60 days, to find out different things, to educate people what goes on in the system. What made you decide, that you wanted to appear and volunteer and do this?
Well, let me be honest. That was not my goal at first. When I saw the original casting, it fit me. Do you have a big personality? Are you a fighter for the underdog? And I'm like, yeah, that's me. That's me. Would you like to appear on a docu-series where you can help people out? Sure. I'm an educator. So, for at-risk youth, so sure. And so once I realized that it was for 60 Days In, I was very familiar with the show because I was a fan of the show. Mm-hmm. And so I automatically said, oh, no, I will not be doing that. And they were like, well, why? What's your hesitation? Why don't you want to do it? And I said, well, it's jail, but besides that, I have celiac disease. And they had no idea what that was. Mm-hmm. And so once I kind of told them, they just said, well, just think about it and see, and let us do some research. And so I had several meetings with the production team, the casting team, just kind of giving them the information about what celiac was so they could make sure that the jail could accommodate, my needs while I was there. And so even after I said no, I started doing research, and I realized that, at that time, I didn't realize that celiac was covered under the American Disability Act as a silent, or a blind disability. And so I started reading things, and I started reading about other inmates that were in prison and jails, and no one took them serious, and they thought they were complaining. And I was like, well, maybe this is a rare opportunity for me to do something to try to bring awareness to something that has drastically changed my life. And so, after much prayer, contemplation, and speaking to my family, I decided to do it.
Mm-hmm. And that was the main thing. Like when I was watching, I was like, wow, she has this medical condition. And the thing that struck me the most is when you were like trying to tell the guard that you hadn't eaten, and you hadn't eaten breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And the lady just was like, whatever, So I was like, wow, it's one thing, that you're putting yourself in a situation, but, your health was at risk. So, how did you have any hesitation? I know you just mentioned that, but how soon was it once you got in where it's like, wait a minute, my health is thing, that I really have to consider? Like, how was that feeling?
It was actually, it hit me sooner than I thought, for the simple fact that I was not able to eat like I was trying to eat before I went into the jail. And due to time constraints, I wasn't allowed to. I placed my order, but it was taking too long. So I went into the jail hungry. And so I was nervous from the get-go, knowing that it may be a day, it may be a week, it may be a month before I eat. And so I really wanted to tap out during intake, when I was sitting in there, because it was like, it was real. I'm a jokester, like, I like to play a lot of games. And so in my mind, excuse me, I always tell people, in my mind, you remember the show Punked, like with Ashton Kutcher?
Yeah.
I used to, I was thinking in my head, like, okay, this is like really not happening. I'm really not about to go to jail. Like, they about to tell me that I'm on Punked, and that's the show that I'm really on. Right. And once it was real, I was like, you know what? I started it. I gotta at least try it and go as far as I can. And so I just decided I made a promise to my family. I said, I'm gonna go as far as I can. If I feel like my health is in jeopardy or my safety is in jeopardy, I'm giving the signal and I'm out. Right. And so I knew that I had that capability, unlike a lot of people, but I tried not to use that a lot, because what about the people that are in jail that can't give a signal? Or what about the people that are in prison that can't give the signal? So as much as I could, I tried to do that. But when it came to my health, when I started having health issues, I had to, make some decisions, some tough decisions.
Yeah, I feel you, because I definitely felt some type of way, like when the other cast member left and they showed her going to the hotel room and stuff. And I was like, wow, like, it just makes you think, So I definitely, of course, want to get into you educating us about celiac. But one last thing about the show, I know there was another scene when you said you had like the best moments in there and the worst moment of like your life in there. What were the lessons that you just picked up being an observer in such a, I don't even know what to call it, like a social experiment, I guess? Like, like what did you pick up from that?
The number one thing that I picked up is that I didn't think I would be capable of really loving those women, even though they're criminals. I didn't think I would be able to see through their crime. And what made me kind of see through that is we've all made mistakes, and some of us have just not gotten caught. Yeah. And, I've had situations where I could have ended up in jail, but by the grace of God, I didn't. And so it really just taught me to just listen to the person and feel the energy and not necessarily judge their crime and get to know them. It was a young lady that was in there for murder. And, before I went into the jail, I had a few days. And so I had looked at the mugshots and knew, what people were charged with and who I wanted to stay away from. So initially my thought process was like, I'm staying away from her. She's here for murder. But I just took away all of my preconceived ideas, and it really taught me to be empathetic and sympathetic, because I never fully had a understanding of why people continue to go to jail over and over and over and over again. I never understood that. And then I asked the question, because my roommate was one that had been in and out of the system since she was 15. So for 25 years, she'd been in and out of the juvenile detention center, in and out of jail, in and out of prisons. And so just really learning, what their issues are. So maybe when I get out, I can, work with different organizations. Now that I know what the root cause of the issue is and why they keep coming back to jail, maybe we can set up some programs to help them create their own normals, because that's a lot of it. It's like they don't have structure. And so just learning and being open to learn and know that I went in there with the mission and a purpose with celiac disease, and my mission was weapons and contraband. But being open to whatever else God wanted me to discover, whoever he wanted me to mentor, whoever he wanted me to, talk to. And I was open with that. And it was just such an amazing and awesome experience, even though you never saw those things in the show, because that would go contrary, to the type, my character that they wanted me, my role that they wanted me to play. But yeah, it was a very unique experience.
Because I know I saw a part where you mentioned like you thought it would be like the women to be worried about, but it was really the staff. So, yeah, And I think like what you just mentioned, another reason why they probably didn't want to show all of that, because they didn't want to really humanize the people that's in there.
Definitely. Because, when you ask about me eating, it took about 3 days for me to get a gluten-free meal, but you saw a little bit of it. But the inmates were the ones that were going around. They were like, okay, so, Simmons, what can you eat? What can you eat that's on the tray? Well, I can eat the oranges. So they will go around and collect hey, Simmons has celiac. She can't eat this. So, can we have your oranges? Can we have your apples? And to just see people that didn't even know me that, we later bonded because they wanted to know more. What is celiac? What is this disease? When I start getting a quote unquote gluten-free meal, well, what is this? They start asking questions. I didn't expect criminals that didn't know me to like go to bat for me at times more than the participants that I was in there with. So yeah.
Wow. That really is something else. Now, of course, educate us all about celiac disease. I know, we've talked about it, how obviously there's certain things you cannot eat. You mentioned gluten-free diet. I know just from what I saw on this show, just from the research about you, you mentioned you lost like a significant amount of weight when you were initially diagnosed. So definitely on celiac disease and how it's.
So around 12 years ago, I was losing weight and I was like, cool. But I didn't think anything of it because at the time I was a gym teacher. And so I'm the type of teacher that I'm working out with the kids. I'm working out. I'm doing what you're doing. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'm working out. And then I'm noticing like something's wrong. My hair started falling out. And I met with a beautician and she was like, you have some type of deficiency or something. So then I noticed I start having like splotches on my skin. At the time I was 29 and I stopped having a menstrual cycle. And I'm like, I haven't had a cycle in a year. This isn't normal. And so I was really busy at the time, but when I start thinking about all of those different things together, I said, something's wrong. Something is very much wrong. I remember I was a gym teacher with middle school, and I remember one of the middle schoolers picked me up, and I was like, oh, no, something got to give. And so I started going to the doctor. I told her, my primary care physician at the time, I said, I think I'm going through menopause. And she's like, girl, you ain't going through no menopause. You good. I'm like, no, but for real, like, I'm real high. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And so she starts sending me to different specialists. And, we just kind of, my doctor's my sorority sister and my friend. And so we, I said, just give it to me straight. What do you think it can be? And she said, we're gonna have to run some tests, do some blood work. I'm gonna probably have to take you to some specialists, send you to some specialists, but I think it could be diverticulitis. I'm like, what? Huda? And so then, of course, I go home and I looked that up. She said it could be Crohn's disease. She said it could be cancer. She was like, it could be HIV with the amount of weight that you've lost. It could be HIV, AIDS. And I'm like, what? And so I just remember going home and researching all of this stuff. And then it was like, okay, well, it's not any of the stuff that I thought it was. So now I'm going to send you to a gastrointestinal doctor. And so I had the endoscopy, the colonoscopy. They kind of messed that up. So I had to go back and do another one. I wasn't really trustworthy of that. They didn't find anything. And so I just was like, you know what? I guess there's nothing wrong. It's just all this stuff just happened to me.
Right.
And I was like, I'm over it. I'm deathly afraid. Well, I'm not now, deathly afraid of needles. And I'm like, you know what? I'm sick of getting picked and probed at, and they don't know what's wrong with me. As a child, I was sick. They told me I had IBS. They said that I had anemia. And so I'm doing all this stuff that I've been picked and probed at. I'm over it. And so I remember my family was like, no, it's your health. Like, you got to keep pushing.
Right.
And so I talked to my doctor and she's like, well, let me send you to an oncologist. So she sent me to an oncologist and they're like, well, we don't know what to tell you. And so I was like, let me just go to a gynecologist. And it was so weird when I walked in and I started talking to her. She was like, I just think you have celiac disease. And I said, don't tell me nothing about it. I don't want to know. I was like, I don't want to research nothing else because they told me that they thought I had diverticulitis and I love strawberries. And I had like 25 anxiety attacks thinking that I was going to have to eliminate that from my diet. And I ain't trying to do that. So I was like, just do whatever test you need to do. I have not had a menstrual cycle. You know, these are the other things. Do what you got to do, but don't give me nothing, no possible, no maybe, let's just wait. And so then I got the call that told me that I did have celiac disease, and that because I was misdiagnosed my entire life, that I was really infertile. I had no eggs, and that I could probably get like donor eggs or whatever, but I wouldn't be able to, have conceived naturally. And then in 2017, I actually had to have surgery because I had a lot of cysts on my fallopian tubes. And so I had to make a quick decision. And so I made the decision for them to take the fallopian tube so I would not potentially develop cancer later. And so celiac disease has really changed my life. And so that's why it was so hurtful for the way that I felt like I was portrayed. Although now I'm seeing that a lot of people saw through that and they knew that it's just editing, it's just a reality show. But, it is something that I've always loved kids. I've always loved kids, and I've always loved dogs. That's like always, I was a kid picking up kids. And so to have a disease, snatch motherhood away from me, it devastated me. I wrote a monologue, and it's on my YouTube page called Defective Woman, because, since having my surgery, I don't really date, because I don't want to have those conversations. I mean, of course, now everybody in the world knows I can't have children, and they know that. So I think that's one of the reasons I maybe did it, is like, okay, let me just put it out there, because I don't want to, date and have this conversation, because that was one of the issues with my last relationship was, celiac disease, me having the surgery, not being able to have kids, not being able to match his love language because of my health.
Yeah.
So knowing the different aspects of my life that celiac has affected, it was a no-brainer to go to jail and bring awareness and, about the disease just itself, but how you need to handle people in the criminal justice system, because 1% of people suffer from celiac disease. So that means that you have people in the jails and prison systems that have it. I had someone, I thought it was on YouTube, but maybe he emailed me. I had people reach out to me all kind of ways. I had a guy reach out to me. He was in prison for 7 years. And he didn't tell them that he had celiac disease because he just didn't want the stigma of being, a problem or, getting special treatment. And so he just kind of had to navigate through that himself. And I don't think it's fair that if you are a certain religion that you are served certain foods, or the foods are notated that is kosher or halal, but that's a choice you made. I didn't choose to have celiac disease, but when I go to, purchase commissary items, nothing's notated if it's gluten-free or not. And so I was like, you know what? I have a mouthpiece and I'm going to use it. And the thing about it is, because it is a silent autoimmune disease that people, often think people are exaggerating. I hate in one way that I started developing another autoimmune disease while I was in jail, with my feet swelling up and my heart palpitations. But I was almost glad, because one of the other participants, Jennifer, I told her, I don't think this made the air. I can't remember because it's been a while since I've seen all of the episodes, but I was like, you're one of those type of people that you need to see somebody sick to believe them. Yeah. And, you know, and she was like, yeah. And so it was, I have people in my family that way too, that thought, you know, my whole life I was a hypochondriac because they couldn't find anything wrong with me. And then it was like, once it was identified, you have this, you have this, you have this, it was like, oh, so I get how people feel, because I've been ostracized at moments by friends, family, co-workers, because they don't understand. I didn't understand. I didn't know what celiac disease was before I was diagnosed with it. I didn't know what gluten was and gluten intolerance and gluten sensitivity. I care because it affects me, and the people around me care because it affects someone that they care about. But, you know, a lot of people don't care, and I want them to care. I want them to care.
What do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions? Like, I know you said that there are some people, they have to see you sick, they have to see it, they just won't take your word for it. What is misconceptions, and how is it with what you're dealing with, navigating your everyday life? You know, how has it affected you? And I know, like, you with infertility, which I definitely, my heart goes out to you with that. How has it affected just your daily energy? You know, I know, like, obviously it affects your diet, you know, energy levels, things like that, you know, and what are, like, and then back to misconceptions, do you feel like sometimes you have to explain this to people too much to explain, like, why you have to eat certain things, or why you can't do this? Do you have to always explain yourself to people?
Yeah, I'll start with the misconceptions. I'll say the main misconception is that this is a choice. It's a lifestyle choice, and it's not a lifestyle choice. You know, I remember being, you know, in jail, and, you know, I had say I can't eat the chicken because it touched the noodles. Well, just take the chicken out. Well, I can't because that's called cross-contamination. And what is that? And so then I'm trying to explain to him. And then there was a scene, people was like, you know, Shanice was so picky. You know, she said she can't eat, she hates the skin of an apple. But what they didn't tell you is, as a person that has celiac disease, my stomach lining can't digest those vitamins and those nutrients like everyone else. And so I am constantly sick when I'm trying to digest those. So when I'm eating an apple, now I know, I didn't know when I was first diagnosed, why am I getting sick? And it's because I'm eating this skin where the nutrients are, which is what I need, but it's hard for me to digest that. So it is always explaining. It's always feeling like I don't even want to go somewhere to an event because I don't know if they're going to have something gluten-free. I don't know if I can trust it. If I go to a restaurant and I say, hey, you know, like chicken wings, you can have not fried chicken wings, but, like, you know, chicken wings, barbecue chicken wings. Some people fry those in flour, some people don't. When I'm getting chicken wings, I'm asking, you know, well, are your chicken wings gluten-free? Huh? Are your chicken wings gluten-free? I don't know. I have to walk out. And so it's very frustrating, you know, to just know that cross-contamination, like, one of the things I used to love was McDonald's fries. It's not only do I have to watch out what I eat, the cross-contamination. I have 2 dogs that are sitting here with me. They have to be on a gluten-free diet because if I have to, what they kiss me, I don't want to, you know, I don't want my face or something to break out. You know, it's affected my relationships because it's like, I don't really want to go out because, you know, I had cross-contamination. I tried to go out and do something and now I'm sick. When you have cross-contamination and when you eat something, it's not a hour thing and you're done. It could be 2, 3, 5, 7 days, depending on how much, you know, you ingested. And so, you know, that was the issue with my last relationship. It was just simpler. His love language was quality time and physical touch. Well, at the time I was having the womanly issues and having pain. So I ain't trying to touch you. And I'm not trying to spend quality time because I don't feel good. I don't know if I'm about to have to throw up. It's embarrassing. As a person that, when I was first diagnosed with celiac and I was learning about what was gluten-free and what wasn't, like, and it sounds simple, but it's not.
Yeah.
I had indigestion and gas like a lot. And I didn't understand that. And so I had to like join different groups and like, is this normal? You know, because you feel so abnormal. You feel like I'm the only one in the world going through this. And I don't know how to explain this to people. And I don't know how to tell people that, like, I had real bad gas and then we just started dating. And I really don't want to be around you, you know, going through that and going to the bathroom every few minutes. Like, it's over explaining. And it's just like, you know what? It's become a point where I just have learned to enjoy my own time by myself.
Yeah.
And because I don't have to explain anything to myself. And it's like, you know, I make t-shirts. And so I make a lot of shirts like, the only person I'm talking to today is my dog. Because I'm like, they get it. They know my energy's off. They give me my time. They understand. They love me through that. And, you know, some individuals are not empathetic or sympathetic, and they don't have the capability of, you know, understanding and loving you through some of your hardest times. And they don't understand when you're suffering with one autoimmune disease, chances are you're going to get more than one if you have one. Like I have 3 and really 4 because I'm transitioning out of Graves' disease because I don't know if you can see it, but I had a thyroidectomy because when I developed Graves' disease while I was in jail because of the poor nutrition and the cross-contamination. And so people don't realize that I really made a huge sacrifice trying to bring awareness to something that's changed my life. I didn't have to, you know, make up a story and say I had celiac to be on TV. Yeah. I wanted to bring awareness and, you know, thank God I'm doing it. And I don't like the fact that we had the pandemic, but because of the pandemic, I had an opportunity that a lot of people that were on 60 Days In didn't have. You know, I was bringing awareness, but guess what? There hasn't been a season 7 yet. So I have an opportunity. People are still researching me. I get messages every day on social media, YouTube, you know, whether it's about the editing, whether it's about thank you for what you did, whether it's about I have celiac, sister, I get it. It was an opportunity of a lifetime that changed my life, but I don't regret it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, wow. Like I said, you definitely made a huge sacrifice because, like I said, as I was watching, I'm like, wait a minute, you know, she has the health factor. And that's why I was like, wow, like she's really risking her life, you know. So, like I said, I definitely I couldn't have did it, you know. So you're definitely a strong woman for doing it. I was like, putting herself out there, you know, that's a lot. So I want to talk about your philanthropy. Like, you know, you have a great mission. And I know like you also, when you went on the show, you mentioned you were an educator for at-risk youth. So I know you already have that heart for helping people. So tell everybody about your philanthropy and other things that you're doing to make a difference.
Sure. So, you know, after kind of being disappointed of the lack of education that was the opportunity that the network had to bring awareness about my autoimmune diseases, among others, I actually started a production company called Classy Creations Production Company because I already have Classy Creations. And so adding a production company side to it. And so we started working on our docuseries to bring awareness to not only celiac disease, but other autoimmune diseases. And it's called Autoimmune Diseases, No More Suffering in Silence. And so just bringing awareness to the things that we're doing that we have to go through every day, emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, so people can become more empathetic and sympathetic and do the things that they need to support their family, their friends, their loved ones. I also actually just had a meeting with one of the celiac nonprofit organizations. And so working with them and trying to work with some of the other autoimmune organizations to bring awareness, to get the signage that the prisons and the jails need to know. One of the problems was they didn't know in the jail that I was in, they didn't know in the cafeteria what gluten was. So they're giving me a gluten-free meal, but how can you give me a gluten-free meal if you don't even know what gluten is? And so making sure that those prisons and those jail systems get that, making sure that when you drive around, if you have celiac, you have the right documentation. Make sure you know your doctor's number. Like I'm telling people, if you have celiac disease, because I was asked, do you have a doctor's note? So, well, let's get some documentation that we can have, that we can carry around, where if we do go to jail, if they ask us that when we're going through intake, we can give it to them. And so just bringing awareness and actually just opening myself up. I am a very private person. I'm an extrovert, but when it comes to my business and my health, prior to doing this, I was an introvert. And I am just putting myself out there to, bring awareness, and working on a children's line of children's books for, autoimmune diseases, working on, I started a nonprofit when I was in Missouri called Creative Minds, where it's a nonprofit organization that is like a mentoring program that works with youth, that a lot of at-risk youth that want to do different things in the arts. And so before you decide, let me go to college, I was blessed. I thought I wanted to major in journalism. I was going to go to college and spend money and major in journalism, only to find out that I'm not a journalism type person. I'm a creative writer. So working with those youth to help them identify what they want to do before they go spend money doing that. And so just mentoring and helping people with my production company. I'm doing a lot of writing right now. And some of the things are, to bring awareness. I'm working on a pilot right now that is about, celebrating people that have unconventional beauty. I wrote a feature movie that's about, loosely based off my life, about just supporting people. So my mission statement with my production company is to empower, to inspire, to educate, and then lastly, to entertain. And so that's one of the other things is I like ratchet TV, but I want people to want to look for positive things on TV instead of the ratchet stuff all the time. And, want to help people grow and, teaching people what I do. I have a lot of people that say, hey, can we just work with your production company? Because, we want to learn what you learn. And I have people that, of course, because I was on 60 Days In, they want to work with me. So working with people and teaching them how, if you want to be on a reality show, I can work with you and I can tell you what I did to get on there. If you want to be on a game show, I can help you do that. I've been on Family Feud and had an opportunity to be flown down to Atlanta twice to do that. And so just being a voice for people in the community, in the world, if they need advice. I originally started a blog called the Midwest Gluten-Free Diva. So I go around and I review, gluten-free restaurants, gluten-free items. And so I just want to be known as the autoimmune disease warrior, where whatever somebody says, hey, we have an issue dealing with this. Can you help us try to figure out the people to deal with it? Or, can your production company do, a commercial or something where we can bring awareness and get people together? And so just trying to change people's mindset. That's where I'm at right now.
Wow. That is definitely a lot. And I agree with you. You're speaking to the choir. I do believe that as African Americans, women of color, we need positive images in media. Like I said, same thing. I like tuning in to ratchetness when I feel like it for, entertainment. But as far as that being the scope for us, no. Like we definitely positive images of us as much as possible. You know, like I said, catchiness to me really truly is entertainment, which a lot of times that's not even a goal when they put it out there. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, we definitely need less of that. So lastly, the platform that Q-Chat and Geaux Queen is about self-love and just how self-love really is the fuel to every aspect of our lives. Now, I know with everything that you've mentioned, and like I said, you have gone through a lot and you still have a huge smile, you know, and that you're reaching out to others. How has your how do you view self-love, number one? What is your definition? And how have you applied it in your life? Because I know you've gone through a lot and you still have that bright light about you. You're still moving forward. And I know like a lot of things that we all go through can affect our mental health, you know. So how have you embraced self-love to, you know, work on your mental health too, so that you can be who you are in spite of, you know what I'm saying? So how has this affected you and how have you applied self-love?
It's been hard. I have a lot of bad days, but with the self-love aspect is over the last few years before I started, you know, developing Graves' disease and all of that, I've really built confidence. And, you know, it's different things, you know, going to Family Feud and sending a video of just myself and not the family, build up my confidence, build up myself like, hey, you know, you kind of got something. And just doing different things, you know, attending the T-Star workshop and realizing that you are here for a reason and you have a bright light, and there are people that are going through things that are worse than you. And so once I kind of thought about that, it was like, you know what? I'm going to live every day like it's my last, because I can't look like what I've been through and I can't wear that on my sleeve, especially being an educator, because a lot of the stories that I would hear from my students were things I never could imagine dealing with. And so I think the fact that when I used to talk to my students, a lot of their issues came from the fact that they didn't love themselves. They didn't understand themselves. They didn't even enjoy being with themselves. And so they felt like they had to be with someone else to get that love. And I really just kind of prayed that through all these trials and tribulations that I could just stay positive. And even when I have a bad day, it's like, okay, you know what? And this is what I do. My family can tell you, my friends, you know what? I'm having a bad day. Depending on the situation, I'm going to get myself to the end of the day. And I'm going to be in my feelings. I'm going to cry. I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be upset. I'm going to be angry. I'm going to be all of that. And, you know, I'm gonna throw myself a pity party. But at 12:01, baby, it's a new day. And I have to remember that. So I allow myself the opportunity to feel what I need to feel, because that's important. You know, sometimes as women and women of color, we don't want to cry and we don't want to feel that because we're so strong. So I think with the self-love, I allow myself to feel sad. I allow myself to feel anger. I allow myself to feel pity. And, you know, my confidence may be down, but I don't stay there. I don't stay there. And I think that that's the key. And then realizing that I worked at Disney World. This was a key changer for me. Working at Disney World, you have the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and you have kids where their last dying wish is to come to Disney World. So what they told you is, I don't care if you are sick, if your mama died, if you just lost your last $20. They didn't say all that. That's me ad-libbing, because this was like back 20 plus years ago. But the gist was, when you come to work, you are on stage. So whatever you have going on, leave that behind, because a lot of these kids, you are going to be the last face that they remember. So when you're on stage, you put all that behind. And so that is how I try to live my life. And a lot of times people are like, we had no idea you were going through this, and you shouldn't. And you shouldn't, because you going through stuff too, baby. What am I going to be going around? Oh, I heard this is bad and I can't do this. Because everybody has aches and pains. And the thing my mama told me about life, and this is where self-love, I think, comes in too. She said, life is like this. Everybody is either going through something, they just finished going through something, or they about to go through something.
Woo. Man.
And if you look at life like that, love yourself, appreciate yourself, value what you bring to the table. I didn't know that I brought to the table that I was capable of having a video that's out on A&E and 4.9 million people watch it. But I know it now. And so now that I know it, and I know my God-given gift, use your God-given gift before you lose your God-given gift. And that's part of self-love.
Wow, girl, you just said a word. You said a word. I just appreciate your transparency and your honesty and just being an example, like you said. We are on stage, you know what I'm saying? Not everyone has to know what goes on when you step off that stage. And I definitely appreciate that lesson that you just dropped. Before we end everything, tell everybody how they can contact you, how they can find media, and how they can learn more about you. Like, I definitely appreciate this conversation. I really enjoyed myself. So definitely tell everybody how they can connect with you.
Sure. So on social media, I'm DramaKueen, Queen with the K, because I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So you can find me at DramaKueen 16, Queen with the K. I'm also on YouTube, so I have a DramaKueen vlog. So I do reviews, I do monologues. You can actually see my comedy skit, which I talk about some funny things that happened while I was in jail, some questions people have asked me about 60 days in. DramaKueen vlog on YouTube, DramaKueen 16, everywhere else, Queen with a K.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Again, this is Miss Shanese Shields. She was on 60 Days In, and she really is a warrior. I do appreciate everything that you share with us. And I hope you guys take in these amazing gems that she dropped. Like she said, we're about to go through something, we're in the middle of going through it, or we've damn sure already been through something. And life does not give us a preview, unfortunately, of the things that we're going to experience. But by the grace of God, we can have that self-love and that strength to not let those hard balls that are thrown at us define us. And that is the truth of life, is how we're going to take those things that have been thrown at us and how we're going to move forward. How are we going to carry that weight? Are we going to give to others? Are we going to let that weight just weigh us down? Are we going to let it rob us of our happiness? And that is the true way, so that your crown may slip, but just don't let it fall. Do not let the things that at us define us. We're better and we're bigger and we're greater than that. But own your feelings too. It's okay to be sad some days. It's okay to say, I do not want to deal with this. But once the clock strikes 12, it's a new day. So thank you guys for the Q chat. Make sure you guys connect Geaux Queen TV or www.geauxqueen.com, and make sure you be safe and go love yourself.
Geaux Queen, Geaux Queen, Geaux Queen, go. Represent, you're a queen, oh.
Thanks for listening to the Drama Queen Perspective. Be sure to like and subscribe this podcast and share with the drama queens in your life. Until next time, this has been the Drama Queen Perspective.